Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Success Happy Hour with the Drunken Grape. I am your host, Rob, and whether you're tuning in on any corner of the globe, this is the beauty of podcasting. You can have out your phone, your tablet, your computer at your office desk, at home, in a cafe. Doesn't matter where you are at. You can always tune in and enjoy these discussions. Each and every week, or pretty much each and every week, we've changed the format a little bit as of late. So there's been some pause in episodes. We are always delighted to bring brilliant people discussing highly engaging, sometimes sensitive, yet very important topics. Now, make sure to smash the like, subscribe, share this video. Subscriptions really help drive the YouTube channel, as does commenting in the video. Just simply putting a like helps a bit, but actually commenting and engaging and sharing this content is crucial. Now, today we are going to talk about how to financially escape where you're at, whether you're debt-ridden, you want to get the hell out of that Western country that seems to be ever imposing more and more restrictions on freedom, particularly financial freedom, taxation, carbon taxes, excessive weird social policy and indoctrination that's happening. We're not going to touch too much on that. But centrists such as myself are getting concerned, as are you, Francois Lantier. And I want to welcome back Francois Lantier. He is a great guest. He has a podcast called Wine and Real Estate. He's an avid real estate investor. In fact, he is a global investor and has residencies or citizenships in other countries. He's really expanded his portfolio. He is quite young and has done quite well in this space. Welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing amazing. And yeah, it's funny hearing you talk about the carbon tax. I just received my $213 in my bank account. I'm like, woo. I'm sure it cost me a lot more than that. So I'm still Canadian, obviously, if I receive that, but this is coming to an end at the end of the year. And one of the reasons, yes, there's political reasons and then financial as well. So lower taxation. For me, that's going to be a 3 to 5 year plan. It's not something you can do right away because I have a lot of assets that I can't liquidate. So yeah, it's a process, but I am starting to diversify. I'm in 6 countries, as you mentioned.
Wow.
Probably by this fall, I'm hoping to be in another 2 or 3 other countries. I am touring Eastern Europe and Asia and the Middle East as well for opportunities.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. I know you're well invested in Costa Rica. That's one great place. The Guanacaste province is nice and dry and arid there. Beautiful fauna.
Yes.
The Ticos, which is what the Costa Ricans are called. I remember this from traveling there in the late 90s, my first ventures there, when you could buy a property for 20 or 30 grand. It's too bad I didn't have the vision then to do that. I was also very young. I was in my mid-20s. It was a very different time of life. But I tell you, that country has really thrived. It's democratic. And, you know, now you can buy a citizenship there if you invest, what, 200,000 US or more into a property, or is it $250,000? It's somewhere around there, but what a great opportunity. And, you know, on that topic, what's your thoughts of El Salvador, for instance? I've been following Nayib Bukele, their president. What a dynamic individual. He has drummed MS-13 into near extinction. Crime is obliterated. Prosperity is rolling in. He's the first country in the world to have Bitcoin as a form of currency, which is obviously going to attract things because regardless of the SEC's battle on that right now, that is not going anywhere. Cryptocurrency and the good projects, like 90% of them are going into the drunk tank. They're going to go to zero. But for the 10% that are out there, like the .com boom, that makes sense. They're going to thrive and explode. Nothing's stopping this.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah. So yeah, Costa Rica is 150,000 US. Then you can get residency, eventually citizenship. So they dropped it. It used to be 200, I think 250. Which makes it more affordable to a lot of people. But El Salvador, wow, yeah, that is amazing news. And from what I read as well, it's the new, people are calling it the new Dubai, the Dubai of Latin America. And I could see it happening. Seriously, they've got some beautiful landscapes, great location. They just rebuilt a huge airport, all kinds of infrastructures going in. and the environment politically is really good. I
That's the
read
key.
about murder rates are extremely low now. While it used to be one of the most dangerous countries in the world, now it's actually quite low. Probably not sure. I'd have to read the numbers, but it's very, very low, very affordable. So now's the time if you want to buy in El Salvador. It seems scary, but now would be a good time because in a few years, it's going to do like Costa Rica, just explode in price and value. And there's all kinds of tax advantages as well for foreigners to have a foot there. Maybe not become a citizen, but maybe have a pied-à-terre in El Salvador.
Yeah, I mean, residency is pretty easy to obtain. And, you've got, excuse me, you have other countries in the world. They're starting to encroach on that. Australia, for instance, now thinks it's okay to tax its citizens globally, wherever they're at, even if they don't live there. And to me, that's a disgusting practice. I mean, why? I would cut ties immediately with a country like that if I was an expat. Like, why? When I don't use one single ounce of any of your services other than, the right to vote. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to be taking your income. And then we know the trend. The West has gone tax happy. It is no longer lucrative to live in the West. These developing countries are the next great thing. You got to catch countries on the rise, not on the decline, which is where we're at now.
That's it.
Unless we change policies, you've got to go where you're treated best. The nomad capitalist saying, right? Is it Andrew Stevenson? I'm trying to remember his last name, or Henderson. Andrew Henderson. Yeah, comes out a bit of a strange fellow, but still presents well, has interesting topics, and is very well versed in this space. What are the steps to financially escape?
Yeah, so in Canada, we're still fortunate if we have global investments worth less than 100,000 Canadian dollars. We don't need to report it at this time. So, of course, do your due diligence, check with your accountant. But that's what I read on the CRA's website. There's a declaration form, voluntary declaration at T1135. If you reach above that 100K, then you need to declare it. So personally, what I would do is start traveling, open up small bank accounts, put in a few dollars, and then you're setting bases. So if Canada follows Australia, which I wouldn't be surprised, and they start taxing on citizenship, because we're really close. We're one step away from being the next Australia. Then you could flee to another country, and you already have some bank accounts, maybe some small investments. Obviously, real estate would be hard because under 100,000, you can't get much Canadian. That's not even American, so you can't get too much. But that would be step one for me, is find a place where you think would be a good backup plan and find out about residency. And then you need to have a new citizenship or residency before you can give up your Canadian one, if that's the case. I mean, just like you right now, if I'm not taxed because I'm a Canadian citizen, I'm not going to give it up. But if I am taxed just for being Canadian, then I'm not that attached. I will let it go.
Yeah, and I think the difference, though, with us in Australia, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon here. I've got a different view, and I'm going to hit some points as to why. Canada relies on so much foreign investment that you're cutting the throats of residents that pop in and out of here that own almost half this country.
Oh, yeah.
If not more. The other part of it is the Trudeau administration's in the dust. It's going to get crushed. All the indicators are leading towards an absolute beatdown blowout of my view as perhaps the worst administration federally we have ever seen. It just seems every day there's some scandal or something going on. And you know what? I used to like the Liberal Party, and I don't have an issue with them. I just have an issue with the current leadership. I was a pretty big fan of Jean Chrétien because I thought that we prospered and we were pretty middle ground. And that's where I like to see us, quite honestly. Social progress has to happen. I think there's a little too much emphasis on that on the far left radical side as well. And it just seems like law and order is sort of falling apart here. I mean, Paul Bernardo getting released to a medium security prison, a guy who butchered a pile of women. It's nuts. So having said that, because of the political landscape, we are, I think, less than a year away from an election because even in a minority government, the NDP is starting to wane and Trudeau's starting to criticize Jagmeet openly, which is not going to create, that's not out of the page of the book of how to win friends and influence people, right? So with a change of a pro-business government coming in, they're not going to do that. They're going to keep it as residency because here's the advantage. If I tax by citizenship, if I'm a resident, well, then I can just screw off and you can't tax me. You can take my residency away, whip-de-doo. But if I'm a citizen, you can tax me anywhere in the world. You're going to have massive capital flight at a time that these countries can't afford it. Australia is going to reverse this plan. I'm convinced the next government is going to dump this hard because the amount of money that's going to escape Australia in the next 6 months as they go to implement this is going to be disastrous. They might even do an about face. The difference is the U.S. can get away with it. It's the only country that can because 90% of all dollars are all the currency traded in the world is in U.S. dollars. They dominate. They absolutely dominate. So, and it's going to, and I saw a lot of metrics. That's going to last at least 100 years of domination more. We will never see the end of the U.S. in our lifetimes because China is actually really struggling. India is not there. And the U.S., because its debt is high, but the debt, when you're in the driver's seat like that, you get to manipulate and control all the markets. And they have so much pull and so much sway on every level. And no other power is even close. But it doesn't mean to say it's not wise to go where you're treated best. I mean, why do you want to pay 73% in combined taxes?
No. And I mean, if you're American, as you mentioned, they do have a foreign income exclusion. So the first $108,000 is not taxed. So they make it sort of more palatable to Americans. I mean, still sucks if you're making money elsewhere and you're paying taxes. Hopefully you live in a state that has no state income tax. So at least it's just federal and not the state and then federal. So Canada, I mean, we don't have that option. You could go to Alberta, but personal taxes are sort of more advantageous, but the federal ones are just as bad. So what are you drinking, Rob? I'm curious.
Yes, the happy hour. Crack those drinks, ladies and gentlemen, and celebrate. This is the happy hour. It is a success happy hour, but being actually a professional sommelier and beer sommelier. If you want to book events, come reach out to me. I do them live. I do them virtual. Great way to engage people, hosted dinner parties. We actually do the Indigenous dinner party experience now with my Indigenous chef, Jerome Brasser. But we are drinking from Saunders Creek. Now, Saunders Farm. I have not tried this cider before. I was at the Taste for Hope the other day to raise money for the Shepherds of Hope. And my buddy Jeff from Saunders Farm, he's the manager there. He's also a fellow Prud'homme beer sommelier. Handed me this. So this is Rosy Cheeks Strawberry Rhubarb Apple Cider. So it's fermented apples. It's done much like a batch of beer, basically. Instead of fermenting grains and including hops and all that other good stuff, it's apples. Now, I don't know how this tastes. So this is a cheers to you, Francois. Cheers to the crowd.
Cheers.
It's actually delicious. So it definitely has those hints of rhubarb and apple in it. I mean, rhubarb and strawberry. You can taste the apple in it for sure. It is just wonderfully acidic with a hint of sweetness. I don't find it fully dry. I find it just off dry. And that is perfect for anything acidic. You're going to want that balance of sweetness and acidity if you're drinking something high acid. Otherwise, you get that heartburn eventually. Have you ever had a really dry Sauvignon Blanc and you're into glass number 3 and you're like, okay, I got to switch to water or beer now. This is getting to me. Well, you don't really have this as much because the sweetness sort of negates it and balances it out. Anyway, enough with that. Ladies and gentlemen, always enjoy fine beverages. My theory is drink light to light, moderate in the alcohol space. Be responsible with alcohol. And drink quality over quantity. It's way better to spend $20 on an awesome glass of wine in a restaurant as opposed to your $8 9-ounce pours or whatever. You're way better off with quality. And I know you feel that. So with wine and real estate. But anyway, getting back to that, what are some of the other steps? Like, what would you do to relocate? Would you look at property first, or would you establish a bank account? How would you go about escaping once you've picked a location that you want to move to? Obviously, there's a lot of research that goes into establishing that location first, right? Just walk us through it,
you need
brother.
to know how will you support yourself? Are you already financially independent? Then you could go anywhere, like Bora Bora, whatever. The sky's the limit. But if you can't, let's say you'd still need to earn an income. Many countries don't allow you to get a job until you're an actual citizen. So usually it's residency, you get permits, there's a limit, which isn't great. So can you set up a business there and then be employed by your own business? That's the case for Costa Rica. For me, I will be selling real estate down there. I've already been doing it through a relationship, a partnership.
Yes,
so I'll keep doing that. Other countries. Yeah, Tammy. So she's been on the Drunken Grape and the Happy Hour.
Yes.
Amazing person. And she's living the life. So she lives in Costa Rica, I think about 8 months of the year, and sells real estate to support herself. And then comes back to Canada for about 4 months every year. Usually she also squeezes in a trip to Europe or the Middle East or something. So that's the type of thing. Is that the lifestyle you want to lead? Do you have children? So education, are there good schools? There's international schools in most countries, even in French in Costa Rica. So if somebody speaks French, wants their kids to continue going to school in French in Costa Rica, it is possible. It's quite rare. There's one in San Jose, but it's possible. So your priorities, what are they? And then look at that. Do you have a marketable skill like yourself, Rob? You could be a beer and wine sommelier from Costa Rica to anywhere in the world because it's virtual and there's some awesome events. So number one is, how will you support yourself and your family? Number two, is this a tax-friendly environment? You're leaving Canada for a reason. If it's just the weather, then there's many options. You could go to Florida. You could go anywhere. But if it's taxes, the political environment, then you do need to do your research. And then language barrier as well. Do you want to learn another language, or do you want to just continue in English? Or if you speak French or other languages, that's a big thing as well. A lot of countries seem bilingual or multilingual, but they're not. Or they speak several languages, but none of which you speak. I'm looking at Bulgaria, which seems amazing. But they speak English in some parts. Bulgarian, I don't even know a word. And then they speak several other languages like Russian and other languages I don't speak. So am I willing to learn that to really be part of the community? Maybe not. So that's something to consider when you're looking at options.
Yeah, and also healthcare.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. I would say, though, that's the easiest to get in most countries. So in Canada, we've been brainwashed, in my opinion. People can differ, but I find we've been brainwashed that we have this free healthcare that we pay through the nose. And in most countries, you can get a doctor within a day or minutes or hours for really cheap. So in Malaysia, as an example, you can go to emergency for $110 US, full blood work, ECG scan, like everything in your body gets checked, and you get the report printed and on a CD for some weird reason, and you meet the doctor within half an hour. Like everything, you spend the whole day, they're gonna test you and do all kinds of things. And that's Malaysia. Costa Rica, they have a hybrid system, private and public as well. The public is okay, private's really good. Yes, you're paying, but here, think about your taxes, how much you're actually paying. For me and my family, it's thousands of dollars. So really, I'm not concerned about that. And so if you have health concerns, then yes, check it out. But really, I'm confident in some private care. There are limitations, but there are major limits here too. So
yeah,
I'm not too worried.
Yeah. Listen, my sister, when she was dying of cancer, my twin, That's to give you an idea of our wonderful healthcare system. Even the wellness center didn't test properly. They didn't even do blood tests on her coming out of remission from cancer. Of course, that probably would have caught it at some point. I don't know if she would have survived. She would have survived longer, and then definitely better health to have a little more time with her family. Critical things, And on top of that, I remember she went to the emergency ward, and she was referred by the Queensway Carleton Hospital to the general and the cancer center. Well, the nurse and then they were goofing off. My sister's sitting there for 8 or 9 hours. My stepmother did a shift. I came in midway. We're there till 4 a.m. And eventually the doctor who came on duty freaked out. He has a twin sister as well. And he looked back and they couldn't even process the forms properly. Sent the nurse home and suspended her on the spot right in front of us and the admin person. But this is somebody dying of cancer, rotting away in the healthcare system that we pay a fortune for. And it's not, and it is tax-based. So those that are going, oh, well, we get free healthcare. Yeah, you're probably the ones earning under 50 grand a year and you don't really pay much tax to begin with. So yes, you are getting free healthcare. But for the people that actually
paid by someone.
Correct, it paid off the back of somebody else. Now, I'm not entirely opposed to that. What I am opposed to is the
me either.
Yeah, I'm opposed to the sloppiness and the inefficiency of the system. And then you got people like presidents of CHEO making 600 grand that have nothing to do with healthcare. They're always on like a PR campaign. Yeah. And it's like, stop, put the money into doctors, get these clowns out of here. And that's just my opinion, but it's ridiculous.
And there's some awesome people in healthcare that are overworked and it's really a broken system. So I'm not accusing the people working. Yeah, some nurses suffer. They work round the clock. They can't give up shifts. And legally, I think they could do 12 hours. And then if no one's there to take over, they have to continue. It doesn't make sense. So
and they're underpaid.
Well, that's it. So instead of complaining, that's my new thing. I used to complain. Now I'm taking action. So I don't care. I'm not involved in that system anymore.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So for the people that are relatively affluent, and these are the people that can financially escape, are those with skills, digital nomads, people with trades. Wine and beer is a trade. I'm going to go into project management next. That's a trade. Plumbing, electrical, building, medical. You can get the hell out at any time. Countries will snatch you left and right. And for the money you're making and amount of taxes you're going to save versus paying for private, in a hybrid system, and most countries are a hybrid system. You're going to get light years better service. Think of Mexico, for instance. You can go in and get a full checkup by an amazing doctor if you pay private. And a buddy of mine, super clean. Buddy of mine resides down there. He's a resident in Cabo. He's fighting cancer here. And it costs him $100 to get checked up and looked at over his cancer treatments there, just to follow up and stay informed. And he said down there, he said, they got great doctors here, but the infrastructure around it's not great. Whereas down there, they have equally as good doctors with a far better infrastructure. And dental, the amount of money you save on dental if you have residency somewhere is insane.
Yeah, I went for a cleaning here as an example in Ottawa, $323.
Yep.
$59 in Costa Rica, and they're American dentists while trained in the US.
They have to be, yeah.
And what's the difference? And the dentist is doing the cleaning here. They only check in every other cleaning. So it's like, I don't know. And that's private. So even in the private healthcare, the system is problematic too. So there's a lot of societal issues. Nowhere is perfect, but that's it. I believe in what Andrew Henderson says, go where you're treated best. So you pick, you're free. Go for dental here, go for healthcare there, banking. You don't have to be all in one place. That's what we're taught here in Canada and in the US as well. You invest, you do business, you do everything in your country. No, you don't have to. We're in a global world. You're drinking a lot of imported wine and beer. Why not do the same? Import and export your healthcare and other things, your banking. We import stuff, like all the stuff in my background is probably made in like China and all kinds of countries. So what's preventing me from doing the same?
Brainwashing is what prevents people.
Yeah. So clean your brain. use a mental floss, I think they call it, so you can separate the good from the bad, and then take some good stuff. There's some amazing things in Canada. We have a beautiful selection of wine and beer, and there's some awesome people and beautiful nature. So take the best, and the rest, well, chuck it and just move on and choose the life you want. It's like a buffet.
It is, and there's nothing stopping you. It's just brilliant. All it's stopping people from getting into greener pastures is themselves. I always say, get out of your way first, and things get easy. Work on you first.
And you don't even need to be that affluent. Earlier, you were mentioning affluence. Yeah, you need some cash, but it can be very little. If you plan it well, you can do house sitting and live in houses for free. I mean, if you want creative ways to escape on a shoestring budget, I know all about it. So it's doable. I mean, there's no real thing. It's actually the opposite. The more affluent you are, the harder it is to leave, because you have more assets, more things tying you down. And if you're not as affluent, you're freer, actually. So why not?
It's agile. And the pandemic really changed a lot of this, didn't it?
Yeah.
It exposed a lot of governance. I'm not an anti-vaxxer in any which way or stretch. I do believe in medical science. I do believe that it's more of a health booster, but it certainly helped. I know people got sick, very sick without it. I had like 2 or 3 shots at the time, got hit. The third shot, I got hit. And I just felt off for a couple hours, really. Tested positive, but I felt rough for just a little bit of a day, and that was it. But it's the lockdowns and the excessive measures, and it's even the mindlessness of cashlessness now, and things like this that people are actually working against their own freedom in the West. And you see other countries like El Salvador, Costa Rica, like Latin America is going to explode. The next country to get cleaned up will be Honduras and Nicaragua. Panama is already moving in that direction. And, what if Brazil cleans up? It'll become a superpower.
It's Guyana, a beautiful country.
I'm a citizen to Guyana by birthright. My mother's Guyanese, or was. She's gone now, but I have a passport coming. And they have 21 oil wells for 1 million people. I mean, I think about where that's going to go in prosperity. And these countries are all looking at a new model now, which is Bukele in El Salvador, as to how to clean up your society and make it prosperous, invite business investment, and yet also maintain the fact that you're your own autonomous country and not a colony, as the West has treated these nations. And, as the West becomes more bereft in a collapse of morals, ethics, work ethic, people get more entitled here. I've seen Canada just shift gears in that direction. There's nothing long-term positive about this. This is not the country my parents or grandparents grew up in or came to.
Yeah, definitely. I did my family tree, and my family's been here for about 400 years. And
wow,
like, well, maybe it's time to go. Time to move on.
401 years now. Check, they're out. But,
it's a long time.
I mean, had they just made things more inviting. I talked to a friend of mine in the event space yesterday. It was behind the bar. A guy named Nick. He's done events quite a long time on his own. And him and his partner are packing up the business. He just said, there's just too many headaches. We can't grow to a point where I can outsource the accounting responsibly and other headaches and chores. I'm tied up with frickin' HST and red tape and Canadian bureaucracy. I mean, in short, we treat business like shit in this country. It's a bureaucratic mafia.
Yeah.
And other countries have followed suit. France is a bureaucratic mafia of the 10th order.
That's
they are
the original
champions. They're the champions of bureaucratic nightmare. England has turned into a bit of a bureaucratic nightmare. Of the Western countries, the States is probably still the freest as far as bureaucracy because there's huge pushback there. It's still a land of great opportunity. If you don't mind paying worldwide taxes, it's not bad to be American. I mean, in the sense that if you have affluence, because healthcare is extremely expensive down there, and that's the biggest drawback is their healthcare system. They spend more money than anybody else in the world on it, and it's yet far more expensive than anywhere else in the world. Every place has its plus.
You can't get appointments.
Yeah, it's broken. And I mean, crime, racism, you got to weigh in a whole host of things. I believe in going where you treated best, but we're all newcomers, regardless of what race, nationality, sexuality. They don't care. Religion, don't care. Just come here and be good people, contribute, work. This is what Canada was based on. This is what the US was based on. And this is now the model that emerging empires are doing. Malaysia, for instance, is a brilliant community to join as an expat. I saw money flowing in there in the early 2000s when I went into Kuala Lumpur and Penang and all these other Kota Kinabalu and all these other places in Malaysia sailing through into the Borneo region. You see expansion everywhere. Singapore, another good place for expats. Croatia and Serbia exploding. Slovenia, Poland, Bulgaria. All these countries that were laughing stocks 20 years ago.
Not anymore.
Are actually much more free and headed towards far greater prosperity, especially for the middle class where most of us live, than what the West is today. In the West, there's a rift between rich and poor. That is just the chasm's getting worse, not better. Inflation has accelerated it. What are your parting thoughts, my friend? What's the main thing that should drive somebody to financially escape?
It's really, have you had enough? So you just listed a bunch of problems. Are you okay with it? Because some people are, and I respect that. Some people are like, this is fine and not a problem.
Senior bureaucrats usually live off everybody else.
And even a lot of government employees, and that's okay, and I respect that opinion. My parents worked for the government. My dad was a teacher, so you work for the government.
Yep.
And my mom worked for all levels of government, federal, provincial, and municipal. So their mindset is they work and they have their pension and that whole lifestyle, and I respect that, and that's okay. Let's say you don't like that, and you're on the fringe or some sort of other border, then go change your life. If you don't like it, change it. Don't complain. So if you're complaining, you're remaining in your issues. Really, I believe that you should take action and move on. So if you're not happy, if you're happy, good. I'm glad.
I so agree. It's the same, on a parting thought, be the change you want to be. Be the difference. Be positive. If you're in that job you hate, just change. If you don't like the management structure,
there's lots of options.
If you don't like the management structure you're working for, dump them, move on. The key is to build and continually integrate skills. Education's one thing, skills are much more valuable financially. I mean, that's just a fact.
Totally.
Listen, you're always a pleasure, brother. I love our chats. Thank you. It was a pleasure to finally meet you in person at a real estate networking event at the Clock Tower in Westboro here in Ottawa. I find that you're a genuine soul, you're passionate, you really care. And to me, that really matters. It matters. And it's partly why you're a reoccurring guest on this show. Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm very fortunate.
You're blessed in so many ways. You're an intelligent man, first and foremost. I think that's what drives things. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you decide to do, be the change you want to be. Look at these options, explore them. We are not financial advisors, so consult some of the financial experts. Get legal advice. Talk to your accountant. Talk to your financial planner. Get to network with those professionals in the country you want to get into. I think all these things are critical. Again, just focus on the positive change. And whatever you decide to do, listen, have a terrific day. It's always a pleasure to present to a global audience. From Francois and Rob, much love and bye for now.